And welcome back to the high school sports page. You can see on the screen Burns Insurance Group with locations in Mount Juliet, Nashville, and Franklin, our primary sponsor, and we're so glad to have them aboard this year. We're going to take a look at some of the polls. I do the statewide poll. Terry does a mid-state poll. I have FRA at the top spot in Division II Single A. They had an impressive win over 4A Lipscomb Academy this past week. North Point Christian and DCA remain at number 2 and number 3 in my poll.
I've got Franklin Road Academy in the mid-state at number 1 after that big win over Lipscomb Academy. Then Davidson Academy stays at number 2 with a 24-0 shutout of Jackson Christian. And Donaldson Christian Academy back into the 3rd spot after that open date by virtue of BGA's loss to Knoxville Webb in what was an outstanding football game.
And that has nothing to do with the fact that our guest in the next segment is Dennis Goodwin.
Not at all, but it doesn't hurt.
Division II AA had a big shake-up this past week in my statewide poll with Brentwood Academy's 48-14 win over MBA. That was primarily the reason for the change. The Big Reds' first loss of the season dropped them to number 3. Christian Brothers, even with a loss to Missouri's top-ranked team, moves up to number 2. And MBA falls to number 3.
We're thinking alike, Murphy. In the mid-state, Brentwood Academy still at the top after the win over MBA. The Big Red drops to number 2 with that loss, and then Baylor stays at number 3 after they had an open date last week.
Al Pellegrino, the head football coach at Sycamore High School up in Pleasant View, the northern part of Cheatham County. Almost forgot where Ashland City was. Our guest right now. Al, you and I have known each other for quite some time because of your coaching at both Lake County and Ripley in years past. But for our viewers who may not be quite as familiar with you, tell us a little about how your trip has gotten you to Sycamore from your playing days at Union College in Barbourville, Kentucky.
Well, started my coaching career in Georgia and spent a few years there until I came to Lake County and spent a couple of years at Lake County and had some success there. And our superintendent at Lake County, Joey Hassel, became the superintendent at Lauderdale County and lured me that way. And it was a good move, and spent some years at Ripley. And last year I was the offense coordinator at Rossview High School in Clarksville, which is close to Pleasant View. And this job came open, and there was some really being the close proximity between Sycamore and Rossview. There's people that used to coach at Sycamore and now are at Rossview, and talked to me about coming over there, being their football coach, and it's just been a perfect fit ever since.
You were actually hired, I think, the last day of school or the next to the last day of school this past May, so you just you had to hit the ground running pretty hard, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd like to have 3 or 4 more months preparation, but now we're going into week 8. But it happens. Sometimes you take over jobs a little bit later than you'd like to have them. I've been fortunate enough to take over some jobs in January, and once you get through that first semester of being there, you feel like you've been there for over a year or 2. And now as soon as I got there, we just got to spend the summer together. The kids bought in real quick. The coaching staff has been hitting the ground running, like you said, and they've worked real hard and got great community support there. That's one thing about Sycamore that was still appealing to me, was it's still a community school. And, here we sit today, and, I can't ask for anything better.
Coach, right now you've got more than twice the wins that you had the entire season last year before you took the job, of course. And if you beat Camden this week, you're going to be assured maybe of a home playoff spot. Last year's team was 2-8. What do you attribute the success you've had? Do you have a particular reason you can hang your hat on as to why you all have done so well in such a short period of time?
I don't think you can pinpoint it to one particular thing. I mean, it's a lot of things that the kids have been involved in. They came in, like I said, really buying into what we were giving them. The weight room was really, really exciting this summer. As far as the wins go, we've been lucky. Scheduling's been good to us in the early part of the season, and you put all those things together. Some bad weather. We've been fortunate enough to get some teams that throw the ball and come in our place. And the last 3 weeks the weather's been bad, and obviously last week the weather hurt me. But I think it's a contribution to all the things that have occurred.
Coach, tell us a little about your staff. Obviously, being hired so late in the spring, it's not like you had a whole lot of time to start searching the state looking for assistant coaches. I'm not even sure how many guys from last year's staff are still on your staff this year, or were you able to bring in a coach or two?
Well, there was no time to really bring anybody in because a lot of people aren't going to move their families that late in the year. I was fortunate enough to have a couple guys stay on, and then I picked up 3 other coaches in the process of the month of June.
Did you have to make any serious changes in terms of the offensive game plan, the defensive schemes, that kind of thing, or did you pretty much, I know a lot of times coaches will say, I install what my kids are capable of playing. Is that kind of the philosophy you took, or how did that work?
Absolutely. I've coached, on all different levels from, Pee Wee football all the way through the Arena Football League, and that's one of the things in high school that you have to do to be successful. If you go in and say you're going to throw it all over the place and don't have that quarterback, and you're not, wise enough to change your scheme, you're not going to win a lot of football games. When I came in, the former coach, Coach Williams, is a little bit different philosophy than I did. He was a wing T guy, and I'm a spread I guy, and so it's a completely different. So it was a major overhaul for the kids, but like I said, they bought into what we were doing.
Coach, you've now coached in West Tennessee and now Middle Tennessee during your time at Sycamore. Are there any differences in the 2 areas in terms of coaching, or is it just kids are going to be kids no matter where you go?
Pretty much kids are kids. They're going to be late to school. They're going to do the things that kids do. I just always say the names and faces change. When I was in West Tennessee, we were closer to Memphis. I think it's a little bit, those kids are a little more worldly maybe than the kids in the rural areas. They're just different in that aspect. But, when you get on the field, everything's the same. The blocking, the tackling is the same. The X's and O's are the same.
Coach, you you played 4 regional games thus far, and I think if the numbers that I looked at are correct, you're averaging about 28 a game, but it looks like the opposition's averaging about half that. Pretty close games for the most part. Would that be a fair statement? Yeah, when I first took over, I knew because I did watch them before I ever was hired. I got to watch them in their spring game. And I knew before I took over that defense was going to carry this football team. The kids were really aggressive. They were defensive-minded, blue-collar type. And that's what's carried us through this year. Our defense has. Our coaching staff has done a good job preparing them for what we're going to see on Friday nights. And defensively, we've really gotten after people, and that's why the scores have been so low.
Coach, you've got 2 games remaining at Camden coming up Friday night, as you mentioned earlier, and also a trip to Stewart County to take on the Rebels in your last game. If you win out, you're very well at home in early November in the playoffs. If you lose both games, you could even miss the playoffs. Needless to say, there's a lot of football to be played yet in these last 2 games that you have on your schedule.
Absolutely, and that's what I was saying before the show started. I think this Friday night is really going to start sorting things out. People are going to start knowing where their place is, the pecking order, for you say, and it's just no different for us. Friday night's big for us. It's one of those type of things. We haven't had a home game at Sycamore in some time, so it would be huge for us. It's senior night. Camden County comes to us, and you win, you get that home playoff game, and it's kind of getting that monkey off your back, for say, and our kids are excited about it.
You lost a tough one to Fairview last week, no doubt about it. How difficult was it to get your team refocused this week and get ready for another big game with Camden?
Well, when you look at your schedule and you got those region teams that are, back-to-back games like that, even though we may have lost the game, I think we really won in an aspect of some of the things that we try to do coaching. Early on in the year when we lost our first game, I felt like it didn't quite hurt our kids as bad as I felt it should have. As a coach, it kills us on Friday night not to win. We carry it through us for a while. But Friday night losing to Fairview hurt our kids. And then knowing that we're on fall break and we don't have school, we're out of our routine. And we've had 3 days of practice now. We practiced every morning, and I've had 100% attendance. So that told me something. When everybody showed up Monday morning, I knew we were, going to be in good shape.
Sometimes it takes a long time for that light bulb to go off, like you just referenced, and it sounds like it couldn't have come at a better time.
Absolutely. Like I said, I was a little nervous coming in Monday because I always do roll call first thing. I say good morning to them or good afternoon, and man, everybody sitting there in front of us in that meeting room was really nice.
That's what makes coaching such a great career choice. Al Pellegrino, the head football coach at Sycamore High School, his War Eagles still very much in the hunt for a playoff bid. Al, we appreciate you being with us and wish you and your guys the best of the luck, not only the regular season, but I'm going to go out on a ledge and say into the playoffs too.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you guys do for high school football, and it's an honor and pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We're going to take a break right now, show you some important messages, also some video highlights from the Sycamore Fairview game. Al, you might want to watch the monitor, and we'll be back with the high school sports page brought to you by the Burns Insurance Group right after this.